Well, hello everyone. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. I want to apologize for the late start today. I had a meeting lasted until about 12:30, and then we had lunch. So I try to. I don't try. I would do my best to make sure this happens every Monday at 11 o'clock. But sometimes things just happen. Life just happens. So I have to adapt. I hope you can adapt with me. Again, I want to put this out there that if you know anybody has suggestion on a better time or day that this would take place, I'm open for suggestions. Hi Debbie, how are you? I'm open for suggestions. It's just been it's hard to find a spot that's going to appease everybody, but I'm definitely open for suggestions for a better time, a better play, better day if anybody wants to throw those out there. So otherwise, I just keep going doing what I can to make it happen at 11 o'clock on Mondays. Okay, so I want to put that out there up front. So we're in chapter 7 of my book, just going through some parts of it. Chapter 7 is hitting bottom. And like it says in the last couple of weeks, that everybody's bottom is different. There's high bottoms, low bottoms, in between bottoms, emotional bottoms, physical bottoms. There's all sorts of different bottoms. And it's just when we hit a bottom, what I like to say is this is that I I hope that you get to the point when you hit a bottom of desperation where you have nowhere else to turn. You just can't keep going the way you're going. That's at the point of which you will most likely reach out to try to get help. I want to start with uh, a quote from Emily Durkheim that I have at the beginning of this chapter. It's when this ultimate crisis comes, speaking of bottoms, when there is no way out, that is the very moment when we explode from within and the totally other emerges. We explode with it within, from within, and the totally other emerges. The totally other person that's hiding in there just can't take it anymore. It is a sudden surfacing of a strength, a security of unknown origin, welling up from beyond reason, rational expectation, or hope. So this journey of recovery, hey Bob, the journey of recovery takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of strength, uh, and that strength, I will say that no human power can supply us with the strength that we need to heal the wounds of our past, which ultimately is what sobriety and recovery is about. I asked myself this question last week, and you all know how transparent and vulnerable I am. That I just, why would anybody want to join these live feeds and listen to me talk about my book and about my life? And my pastor Obed, this Pastor Obed Sunday, he said something that kind of struck me, and it was exactly why I feel people need to not only want to, but need to listen. That if you know my story, then you'll become a student of my story. And that's really, if you think about that, if you know my story, what I went through, a lot of people see me who I am today, where Randy's at today in life, the successes he has today in life, his family life today. They see Randy today, but a lot of people don't know my story. And there's, a saying where a lot of people will say, I want what you got. Well, if you want what I got, then that comes with my whole life. That doesn't just come with what I got today. There's a whole lot behind that. And so if you want my life and you hear about my life, you see about my life, I'm telling you the other part of it today because it's to give people hope that you would truly become, if you want what I got, you would truly become a study of my life. And it could be, I think Pastor was referring to it as the life of Jesus, okay? But you can put that in today's context. That if I want what somebody has, then what did it take for him to get there? What did it take for some of the most successful people in the financial world to achieve their success? Well, I know my pastor, for one, he studies very successful people in the business world. That's what he does, as well as the Bible. Don't get me wrong, but if you want what somebody got, become a student of their story, and you'll realize where they've come from and how they got where they're at, because it's all in there. You can't say the bad without talking. We can't talk about all the recovery without talking about where it was, what it was like one time. Because I guarantee you, there's people out there that read my book and that listen to me that they're being very silent, as is common, but they're being very silent about their story. But they're seeing themselves in my story, and I've heard it firsthand from a lot of people as well. But for every person that's coming to me, how many people are not coming, or how many people are not speaking out that, hey, I was there too, or I'm there right now, and I don't know how Randy did it. And I'm saying that from a very, very humble spot, not from an egotistical or arrogant spot. Believe me, I'm the least arrogant and egotistical guy you can find right now. That's how I used to be, but that's not how I am today. I'm very humble about my story, because actually I did the work, but it was only through the strength of God, period. So what I'm going to talk about today is my emotional bottom. It started in 2003, like I talked about last week. This thing started getting out of control. And then in the 2004 December actually, it was Veterans Day weekend. It was Veterans Day is what it was, November 11th in 2004. Kathy had gone into Orange County for a workshop, for a convention for her work. And on that day, I planned it purposefully. I was going to take this woman out. She was actually the paralegal for a personal injury suit that I was involved in. I was the injured party, and the suit was all over. Everything was closed, so I wanted to take her out for a thank you. That was my excuse. But I just happened to set it up on the day that my wife was going to be out of town. Okay. So you can see that right there, that there's something fishy going on. And plus my wife didn't know I was doing it. All day long I was with this woman, and we sat down at the Blue Coyote in Palm Springs, downtown Palm Springs on Veterans Day, and started out simple, just lunch. She had a beer, I was having iced tea, because I was going to work out that afternoon. That was my excuse. So I didn't want to drink. But I think I had a couple glasses of iced tea, and she was, slowly drinking. I think she had 2 beers. And eventually, I just kind of caved in, and that urge to drink overwhelmed me. So I decided, well, I'll have a beer myself. So I had 1 or 2 beers, and thinking, what harm can it do? I'll just have a beer or 2. Well, that underlying motive that I had for taking her out was what the problem was. And the beer was only a precursor to what was to follow. Before I knew it, I probably had 6 beers, and then the tequila started. Between both of us, we were shooting tequila and having beers. And like I say, it was lunch. It turned into a very long afternoon into the evening. Things really started getting loose between us. Now, the deal is that Kathy had been calling me all day, checking in. And she wasn't checking in on me to check in on me. Kathy and I, our communication was always that we talked to each other during the day. And so she was calling and asking, what I was doing. And I told her, well, I'm just having a couple beers, with some of my employees. That's all I'm doing. Nothing big. And I'd done that several times. And the fact is, I wasn't having beer with employees. I was having beers with this other woman. And she called me about 4:30 and said that she's in Riverside coming home. I said, well, that's good, because now I still got a couple hours, so I can have a couple more beers and then head home. Well, I've been lying to her all day long. So the nerve of her, what she did next, and I'm saying that sarcastically. About a half hour later, she called me and goes, where are you at? I says, I'm in Palm Springs. I'm still with the guys. I'm getting ready to head home. Hey, John. And I go, where are you at? And she goes, well, I'm on the 10 right outside of Palm Springs. I'm coming through Palm Springs right now. And I go, oh my God, I'm in trouble. So it didn't click on me that it was only been a half hour since she told me she was in Riverside, and there was no way she was going to be in Palm Springs in 30 minutes. So I bought into it. And so on the way home, I left really quick. I was very drunk. And what I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not proud of. But God has always had my back, always. And I was racing home down the highway 111 because I wanted to get home before her and clean up. And as I was going down, I was literally riding. I'd go in the bike lane. It was at night, so there's no cyclists, but I was riding in the bike lane, cutting in and out of traffic. And at this one particular point, I was driving fast, but in my lane, and a car made a lane change in front of me. And at that time, I had a big Ford 38-inch tire, 6-inch lift. And there was nothing. I did everything I could to avoid that car, and I ended up rear-ending it. In the rear-end process, I pretty much totaled their car. It was like a gremlin or something like that. But thank God nobody was hurt. But at the same time, I had guys coming up to me. They go, "You going to jail? We saw what you did, and we're going to tell the cops you did." And they were right. I was terrible. It was 100% my fault. So the guy got out of his car and says, "Hey, there's nothing he could do, officers. I switched lanes in front of him. I didn't even see him. I don't know how I missed him, but it was all my fault." Nonetheless, I was drunk, very drunk. And I did have 6 police officers interview me. And they were literally within a foot of my face. So how they didn't smell the alcohol on me, it's but God. That's all I can say. Called my wife. She says, "You're going to go to jail. Don't call me." And I says, "Yeah, I know." So I did that big prayer from the foxholes in the back of my truck. "God, please get me out of this one, and I promise." Well, the officers got together. They had a little huddle, and they're walking back over to me, and I figured, well, it's done. I'm going to jail. Instead, they reached out, handed me my license and insurance card, and said, "Mr. Boyd, have a nice night. Drive home carefully." I went, my God, you got to be kidding me. So as a result, nothing ever happened. Nobody was hurt in the accident. So I never heard another word about that accident. But I thought that nothing could touch me. I thought, man, I'm just invincible. I mean, I've gotten out of so many things that I should have gone to jail for, and nothing has ever happened to me. And today I'm thankful that it hasn't, but like I said, I'm not proud of that. It was just part of my story. But there was something that really could touch me. And it wasn't the many cases with the law, it wasn't the many brushes with death. What really could was my children, who ultimately brought me to my knees. My wife and my children both have ultimately brought me to my knees, but it was still not at that point in time, because I was still successful. I was life of the party, successful. You know, I walk into bars and everybody would they would look, "Hey, here comes Randy," and I was buying drinks for everybody. But even though I was all that, I was hurting emotionally more than I ever had before. My heart was just being torn out of me. Nothing was helping the pain anymore. There wasn't enough drugs or alcohol or success or money to get rid of my pain. So, like many other survivors of sexual abuse, and it's in the big book. You know, we tried alcohol, we tried drugs, we tried dangerous sports, highly dangerous sports. We tried everything, and nothing worked. So eventually, what's left? I tried to fill that gnawing in my soul with an affair with another woman. And I thought, well, that'll fix all my problems. Just get another woman in my life and get rid of the old, and everything will be okay. How it started was one Friday after yet another quarrel that Kathy and I had. Well, I was pretty intoxicated. Kathy actually got the courage. She actually got the courage to call me a lazy alcoholic. And man, was I pissed. Man, was I pissed. You know, that's all that I needed to hear. She's never said anything like that to me in the past or since then. So 2 seconds later, I was out the door. I was gone. I was calling that other woman that I hadn't seen for a couple of weeks, and she told me, "Just come on over. Come on over right now. You can spend the night here." In fact, we ended up spending the whole weekend together. And after that weekend, I can remember coming home, and she was calling me. Kathy called me all weekend. I kind of ignored her, but my son called me, and Garrett called me, and I have a hard time ignoring him. And he said, "Dad, when you coming home?" And I said, "Well, I'm coming home, son. I'll be home this afternoon, but I'm not staying. I'm going to get my stuff and leave." And it was pretty tough. So when I got home, I came over and I packed a small suitcase, and I can remember the desperate look in Kathy's eyes as she dropped to her knees, wrapped her arms around my legs, and begged me not to go. I can remember it. She was just crying, "Randy, don't go. Please don't go." I'll never forget that look. I'll never forget that cry. And then just in a flash, just all of a sudden, she turned, stood up, and says, "Get out of the house now. Get out, get out, get out." So I went. Off I went. I'd be walking away from a 21-year marriage at that time to a woman who was the love of my life. When I met Kathy, she was everything, and she still is to this day, but she was everything I ever wanted. I was broken. I was really broken. I just couldn't see. I didn't believe in myself more than I didn't believe in Kathy. But at that moment, for some reason, I was willing to throw it all away. Just throw everything away that I really cared and loved about. And I'll tell you this, that from the very first day, I was filled with guilt and remorse almost every night. It took me a couple, 2, 3, 4 beers just to be able to go to sleep at night. I rationalized this restlessness as I had justified this uneasy feeling in my stomach. It was the same thing that when Jack had started molesting me. I didn't know who he was, and it was just it was different to me. So I just didn't know. I didn't know. And I figured once I get to know her, the uneasy feeling will go away. Well, God has had a calling on my life, and I'm telling you, that feeling, even as time passed, that feeling never went away. What happened was I started realizing how out of control my life really was. How out of control my life had become. I lost whatever ethics and morals I had left, and I was about to destroy a marriage which would have taken my home and my children with it. Everything I dreamed of over something that I was trying to fill this hole in my soul. And there's only one thing that can fill the hole in our soul, and that's God. The thought of losing my kids and my wife, it really broke something inside of me. And I couldn't bear the idea of losing them. I'd always told myself, I'll never let things go this far. But somehow, it's exactly what I did. Somehow I crossed that line. And I'll tell you, I'll interject right here that the fact is that I was hanging around people, successful people, right? In business, very successful business people. And what were they doing? They were all having affairs. Show me your friends and I'll show you your life. The lifestyle they were living while being very successful was anything but ethical or moral. And I fell right into their trap, even though I knew better than to. One minute I was ready to run out the door, back to Kathy, and then the next minute I was afraid she wouldn't take me back. Then it was December 31st in 2004, scheduled to have surgery for a hernia I had developed from working out. What I did on that day is we went out that night. Me and this other woman, we decided let's go out. Let's have a few cocktails. Let's relax. Go to the spa. Get a massage so I can be nice and relaxed for the surgery tomorrow. But something happened during that evening where Kathy decided to text me, not even knowing if a text would work. But it did. And when I was sitting at the bar with this other woman, I got the text and I excused myself and went into the restroom. And problem is I was in there for about, I don't know, probably 20 or 30 minutes. And I was actually called Kathy. And What she told me was, Randy, the kids and I, we deserve to be with you tomorrow, not this other woman. And she was right. She was right. And so as I got back to the bar and sitting down with this woman, she grabbed my phone and looked at it. Needless to say, she was pretty upset. So as we left, I paid the bill. I said, it's time to go. She kept on screaming at me, yelling at me, and rightfully so. So what I did is I ended up just, I'm done, I'm leaving, and I left her there. It was at the river in Rancho Mirage. I left her, called my wife, told her to meet me at a certain spot. We met with my son. I went over, got my stuff, got my motorcycle, and I moved back in with Kathy that day. Now, Kathy was hurt. My son was hurt. And that was in 2004. But what I learned, I can remember sitting around at night telling myself, what are you doing? What are you doing? 21 years of your life married to Kathy. She's stuck by your side through darkness, through everything. She's never hinted that she was going to leave you. She's always been there for you. What are you doing? Because in 6 months, you're going to have these same issues come up where you're at right now. And it was this heavy conviction. And it wasn't just once, it was every single night. And then that last night, December 31st, while the other woman was taking a shower and I was laying in bed, it was just overwhelming. I can't do this no more. I can't do this no more. So the whole thing is that I never faced jail time. I never was standing in front of a judge. I wasn't sent to AA. I was never told by my wife, you better shape up or I'm going to leave you. I never was faced with any kind of negative consequences. But what I was faced with was this overwhelming feeling of remorse and guilt. I couldn't live with it. Growing up even as a kid, I knew that there was something special about me. I knew that God had a calling on my life. I could feel it, but it was never brought. I was always shut down by people, always put down by people. And here, the one thing that I craved the most in my life was this wife that was unconditionally in love with me, that was there for me, that was by my side, that liked to do life with me. And I had it. We had children. And because of my hole in my soul, because I had been abused, because I had gone, all these years with people thinking I'm the problem. People saying, get over it. It happened 30 years ago. Nobody would listen to me. Nobody would listen to my pain. They wouldn't listen to my shame. They wouldn't listen to none of that. Just get over it. You need to forget, and move on. Yeah, well, it's easier said than done. I felt so dirty and tainted. So I made a mistake. And thank God, by the grace of God, Kathy is such a forgiving woman that when I called her up that night, she says, come home. And I did. And it was work. But I can tell you this, Kathy and I have been married for 36 years now. And it's been 15 years since that affair. And I can tell you that in the 15 years, she has not once, you might think, Randy, I'm not lying, not once has she ever thrown that affair in my face. But you know why? Because I allow her to talk about it. My therapist told me, your only job, Randy, is to allow Kathy the freedom to talk about how she feels, because you did it to her. And she was right. So when Kathy gets triggered, or if something's bothering her, I allow her to speak from her heart about what's going on and how she feels, because it's how she feels. I did it to her. But I can tell you that, over the course of the 15 years, there's probably been less than a half a dozen times that we've had to sit and talk about it. Because I don't lie to her. I just tell her the truth. And then I validate her feelings. I was hurting. I've come a long way. That was my bottom. My bottom was the fact that I was going to lose everything that I loved and held so close to me. I could have puffed up my ego and said, it's just the way it is. Heck with them. I don't need them anyways. which I'm sure a lot of people do. She'll never, uh, she'll never let me back in anyway, so she's never going to forgive me anyways. I mean, you could go on and on with the why I'm not going to go back home. But the fact is that we just got to let down our pride. Man or woman, you got to just swallow your pride and say, I'm sorry. And I'm going to work on being the husband or the wife that you want me to be. So we all have bottoms. And even with the alcoholic and the addict, remember something, that the alcohol, the drugs, the overeating, the gambling, the pornography, the overworking, whatever that ism is, that's not the problem. I really want you to understand this. You need to understand this, because you can remove all those things, but if they don't go to recovery and start changing their behavior and start recovering all that God created them to be from their birth, they might as well just drink and use, because nothing's going to change besides the fact they don't drink and use. It's not the problem. Nobody escapes childhood without some form of trauma. It doesn't have to be bad, okay? But nobody's had a perfect childhood. We're all hanging on to something. And people always say, well, I can't forgive myself. Well, let me ask you a question. The Bible says that when we ask God to forgive him, he forgives us as far as the east is from the west and the north is from the south. God forgives us. Therefore, we don't have to forgive ourselves. And by not accepting God's forgiveness, we're saying, I know better than God. He can't forgive me because I've got all this garbage in my life. How about if we switch that and say, God's forgiven me. I accept that forgiveness, but I'm struggling really hard letting go of what I've done in the past. Okay? I don't think it's a matter of us forgiving ourselves. I think it's a matter of letting it go. What are you holding on to? Why are you beating yourself up so much? God has forgiven you. Let it go. Give it to God. Let's work through it. Let's talk about it. Because what happened to us and what we did in the past does not define who we are. It should never define who we are. The past is the past. You can't change it. All we can do is live for today and let God do the work in us to become the people that God wanted us to be originally. What's your bottom? Are you there yet? You're not sure yet? Whatever it is, I hope you come to a place of desperation so that you start reaching out and looking for help. Because no matter what you've been through, I'm telling you, I never thought I'd be where I'm at in my life today. Is it perfect? No, I still struggle with things. I've been going through a lot of struggles this last week, but I don't have to drink or use over it. My life is better than it's ever been. You can have a good life. You can have a good family. You can have a good marriage. You can have all of that. It's just gonna have to take the work. God forgives us for everything. He doesn't care what it is. There's no sin greater than another. So accept God's forgiveness for whatever your bottom is, whatever it is that you're holding on to, and let it go. Give it to God. Just let go of it. And if you take it back, that's okay, but let it go again. Remember, God forgave you. There's no greater forgiveness than that right there. Bottom's your bottom. You don't have to stay there. You do not have to stay at your bottom. As a matter of fact, when you hit it, bounce back. Grab a hold of that ladder and start walking out of the hole, because it can be done. Find a good mentor and walk with him. Find somebody that you can trust, somebody that's seasoned in what you're going through and how to help you get out of it. That's going to love you through the process. They're going to love you until you can love yourself. It's so important, because for a lot of us, we didn't have anybody loving us when we were growing up. We had people in our lives that were telling us how to do stuff, and if we weren't doing it right, Love didn't have nothing to do with it. There's no doubt there's a love for a mother and a father towards their children. I'm not going to doubt that, but there's a difference of having that love, and there's a difference of showing that love and teaching with love. But there's people here today, and I'm a result of people that put their arms around me and love me back to life. You are enough, Randy. You are lovable. You're loved, and people love you. Don't ever think that you're not lovable, you're not enough. There's nobody above you and there's nobody below you. We're all equal in God's eyes. And that's what it comes down to. All right? So next week, I'm not sure what I'm going to do next Monday. If I'm going to do a little more on this, or I might do something around Christmas or something like that. So, but I will be here next Monday at 1 o'clock, 11 o'clock. I'm sorry, like again today for the late start, but I was in a meeting all morning. There's nothing I could do about that. So be sure to visit the Courageous Healers website, courageoushealers.org, courageoushealers.org. If you'd like to, if you'd like to donate, just a one-time donation is great, or you can become a monthly contributor. Just visit the website and click our donate tab. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization, so all contributions are tax deductible. And if you do a donation of $60 or more, I will give you a signed copy of my book, Healing the Wounded Child Within. And I'll give you also a copy of my 30-day devotional wholeness and the 7-day challenge workbook. So for $60 or more, I'll make sure you get all that. We're just moving forward. Remember my book, Healing the Wounded Child Within. It is on Amazon, and it's on 3 different. It's a paperback. Sorry, I'm really tired today. Paperback, Kindle, and Audible. So it's on 3 different platforms: Kindle, Audible, and paperback. You can get it on Amazon. Or if you're in the Valley, you want one, just let me know and I can get it to you. Also, my life coaching, changeyourlifestorynow.com, changeyourlifestorynow.com. We all got issues in life that we need to work on. Kathy and I, we are SYMBIS certified. It's save your marriage before it starts. You can take the test afterwards even. It's real enlightening to the 2 of you, where you stand on different issues of your life. It doesn't say you're compatible or incompatible. It brings a lot of clarity to how each person thinks. We're going through it with our clients right now, and it's really amazing to see how it all lines up with them. So we're now certified to do that. So Kath and I do a lot of marriage counseling, addictions, of course, the abuse, inner healing, and spiritual, all are part of it. Just go to the website, changeyourlifestorynow.com. Just fill out the contact form. Let me know what you're looking for. I'll respond usually within 4 hours. Or if you see me during the week or at church or in the Valley, anywhere, just hit me up and we can talk about it. It'll change your life. It'll help. It'll give you clarification. I do hourly sessions, or I've got 3 months, 6 months, and 1 year packages as well. So don't wait. You're worth it. Okay, you're worth it. And then finally, the workshops for donation. That's the wrong one. Workshops, Courageous Healers Foundation in collaboration with Change Your Life Story Now. We're proud to announce our upcoming workshop series. So it's going to be a series. It's Unmasking Yourself is the name of the series for 2020. The first one is on March 14th. It's personal communication. We'll talk about our behaviors are naturally passed down from generation to generation. The workshop will explore some of these general behaviors and have them that have been handed down to us. We will explore ways to recognize these patterns, both good and bad. We will provide tools and methods to remove and replace those behaviors that we inherited. If you go to my website, I'll put the link on it as soon as I'm done here. If you go to the website and click on workshops, you can see there's the whole workshop series. You see the flyer for the personal communication workshop, and you can sign up right there. One tap sign up. You pay for it and register all in one shot. Secrets in June 13th will be the second one, is Journey to You. We're going to get into why you are the way you are. It's going to be pretty deep. Secrets and Sciences on September 12th. We're all only as sick as our secrets. And December 5th, we will be doing one on forgiveness right before Christmas. This will be really powerful. It's my favorite one. We'll talk about what forgiveness is, what it isn't. We'll give you some clarification. Too many people do not really thoroughly understand what forgiveness is all about. So we want to make sure that we can clarify that for anybody that's interested. So I'll post that link on this post as soon as I get done here. So I'll see you next week at 11 o'clock. Thanks for tuning in with me today. I really appreciate it. And if nobody tells you they love you today, remember Randy does, but more importantly, God does. Be blessed, everybody. Love you all.